There are some maps that show you the world in a way that you've never seen it before. And with the help of this map, you can understand the world a little bit better. This is fertility rates in the 1970s. In the Middle East, it's very similar. It's about 6 to 8 kids. There's only one country on this map that's purple, and that's Kenya. So it means at this time in Kenya, in each household, there was more than 8 babies in one family. And as you can see, the northern countries and the western countries like Europe and the US are all blue. And the Scandinavian countries are dark blue, which means less than 2 children in these countries. This was in the 1970s. But let's see what it looks like today. We're gonna go forward 52 years, meaning 2022. Unfortunately, most of the world is blue now, and that means less than 2 children per household. And the only place that has a lot of children being born is the continent of Africa. In the continent of Asia, Afghanistan has the highest fertility rate, meaning 5 to 6 children per household. As you know, the Europeans loved their potatoes, and this is the map. The numbers you're seeing basically go up and down, and the darker the map, the more potatoes they consume per year. Like you see Ukraine and Belarus, they are the darkest ones, so they consume the highest amount of potatoes. Belarus, it says 170, and that means each person per year consumes 170 kilograms of potatoes. That's half a kilo per day per person. In the European countries, Cyprus has the lowest potato consumption rate. This is the imprisonment rate worldwide. The way it's calculated is that per 100,000 people, how many of them are in prison? Of course, the US is the highest one. The reason is the population is very high. Most states don't have execution, and if they want to be executed, they have to be in prison for a very long time before their execution date arrives. After US, Turkmenistan is number 2. For every 100,000 person, there's 552 people in prison. Some people call this country the North Korea number 2, and it's extremely strict on its population. There's a chance for the littlest offense, you can go to prison. India has a good situation going. For every 100,000 people, there's only 35 people in jail. In the Middle East, you can see as well, they're very similar, most of them. And in Europe, the most amount of prisoners per capita is in Belarus. Belarus has been mentioned 2 times in this video already. It's good to know that in prison, they also serve potatoes. From 2013 to now, more than 150 countries have agreed that they want to be part of the One Belt, One Road China design. And that means all these countries are going to be connected via road. All the red you're seeing is connected to everything, and the yellow ones are considering joining this network. Everybody knows this map. This is Egypt, a country that has 110 million people. The color you're seeing is the population density of Egypt. The deeper the red, and when it turns into purple and pink, the population density is greater. You can notice that most of this country is a desert. A lot of people live around the Nile River. Most people live close to the capital, especially the Mediterranean area, and a little bit live on the Red Sea side. This is the European map for the largest trading partner, and the flag you're seeing is the largest trade partner for that country. Like for example, France's biggest trading partner is Germany, but that's like almost the entire continent because all you're seeing is Germany flag. The most amount of import Germany gets is from the Netherlands, which is surprising. The UK is the only country in Europe whose biggest partner is the US. Russia brings everything from China, and Turkey brings everything from Russia. There is a reason that Germany's economy is extremely strong and it's in 4th place. If you divide the world in 4 sections like this, most of the people, meaning 73% of the world, live on the northeast, 13% live in the northwest, 9% in the southeast, and 5% in the southwest, which is basically South America. This is the map of the big 5 religions. Pink is Christianity, green is Islam, orange is Hinduism, yellow is Buddhism, and blue is Judaism, which is only Israel on this map. This is the obesity rate of Asia. And when we say obesity, we're not talking about fat, we're talking about obesity like this. The highest rate in the world is actually Kuwait right here, 37.9%. And the rest of the Middle East, except Yemen, suffers from the same thing. Like Afghanistan is good, they're about 5.5%. The lowest obesity rate in the world, and Asia for that matter, is Vietnam at 2.1% obesity rate. If you eat less carbohydrates, it will help you lose some weight. A bad diet that makes you gain weight is usually sugar and carbohydrates. Everybody probably has heard about the keto diet, but it actually does work when you eat less carbs and sugar and eat more eggs, meat, and vegetables. So if you can, try to eat less carbohydrates like rice, bread, macaroni, spaghetti, all those stuff, because it's not good for you. And of course, don't eat a lot of sugar. This is the number of venomous animals by country. Of course, the highest one is Australia, but when you look at it, next to the equator is a higher chance of having it. But whenever you go in Central Asia and Europe, you're doing pretty well. But it's funny because France is the only country in Europe that is red, and I'm not sure why. This is the map of will you receive food as a guest at someone else's house? The Mediterranean section is great because the weather is nice and everybody's in a good mood. But the more you move up north and the colder it gets, the colder the people get, and they're not as friendly as you think. It's funny when you look at the United Kingdom, because Scotland and Ireland are probably the friendliest people there. So if you go up north, not only will they not feed you, you have to feed them. This is the map of the countries that do not use the metric system, so they use the Imperial system. Of course, the US, everybody knows, Liberia, and Myanmar. This is the map of the countries that Britain did not invade. In Asia, you got Mongolia, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, and in Europe, you got Belarus and Sweden, and a few small countries. In Africa, you got Chad, Central African Republic, Republic of the Congo, Ivory Coast, and Mali. And South America suffered a lot. Only Bolivia and Paraguay did not get invaded by Britain. In this map, we could see the alcoholic consumption rate of the entire world. Of course, the Islamic countries don't have data or they don't consume it whatsoever, so it's all gonna be very low. In Europe, it has the highest rate of using it, especially Germany and the Balkans. In England, of course, the Irish and the Scottish drink more than the English. And some may wonder, why is Russia not the deepest red? That's because Russia is not a small country. This is a river, the Mississippi River to be exact, the 4th largest river, or should I say, longest flowing river in the world. This is basically what makes the US's land so valuable, because it reaches water to all these farmlands, and without it, most of US land would be useless, kind of like the Sahara Desert. This giant river flows from north all the way to south, and it has a length of 6,275 kilometers. These are the countries that use the most amount of coffee. Of course, the Scandinavian countries use the most, and Europeans and Western countries drink a lot of it. In Asia, not a lot of countries drink coffee except Russia, Korea, and Saudi Arabia and Oman. This map is the distribution of lions in history. But what you're seeing in red is the history and not now, because most of the lions have been extinct, and where they live now is in the blue sections. They're all located in Africa from central all the way to south, and there's a tiny dot in India where you can still find Asiatic lions. This is the map of the hazardous waste of the world. Of course, Russia has the most amount of it, Uzbekistan because it was part of the USSR, and the US is right there behind them. I hope by looking at these maps, you learn a little bit more about the world you live in.